I remember when. I remember when kids could roam the streets and not be afraid of being kidnapped. I remember when moms used to drop their kids off at the mall when they were really little and just drive away. No one to watch them. I'll meet you back here in 4 hours. I remember when it was standard operating procedure to stick a granola bar or a Pop Tart in a kid's hand and kick them out of the door on Saturday morning so that you could sleep in till noon. I remember when, kids used to just run loose in packs. And our biggest fear when we were little was not being kidnapped and murdered. Our biggest fear was not being grabbed up by Satanists and sacrificed to some alien god. Our biggest fear was that we would either A, get jumped by other kids, or B, we would get a spanking from a stranger. That's right. Once upon a time, it was pretty much standard operating procedures in the area where I grew up that if you were doing something obviously wrong, you might get your butt whipped by a total stranger. That when I was a little kid, I got in a rock fight and I started throwing rocks in a parking lot with another kid, and I hit a guy's car and I didn't even scratch it or nothing. And he grabbed me by the arm, spanked my butt, and dragged me 6 blocks home on foot, dragging me, because he made me tell him where my parents lived. He made me tell them my address. And he took me to my house and beat on my door and threw me through the front door. I thought my mom was going to go get a gun and shoot him, because that did make her a little bit upset, and they had a screaming match where he told her what a bad parent she was for letting me run loose and letting me get in a rock fight in a parking lot where cars were parked nearby. Yeah, that happened. More than once I had something like that happen. That it was not uncommon at all for a grown-up to go, "Hey, you kids, stop that," and go after you with a stick or a switch or their own belt. So it was very much a different world, but we felt safe. We weren't afraid. No one ever thought of hurting a child. In fact, I can remember the first child that was just snatched out of his mother's arms in broad daylight in a public place. Well, not literally out of her arms. She looked away at Kmart and he was gone. They found his body in a ditch a few days later. That kid's dad went on to be a crusader, and he founded a television show called America's Most Wanted. That was the first child kidnapping that I knew of, and since then, after that, they just took off, and they were everywhere all the time, and it was just unsafe to let your kids be alone for even 2 minutes. Don't take your eyes off your kids, they'll disappear. But I remember when that wasn't the case. God save us all.